Hello and welcome to the Dental Leadership Summit podcast. I am very excited to welcome the CEO, Florian Hillen of VideaHealth. Florian, welcome.
Hi, Ralf. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
So I want to introduce Florian for those who have not heard of him, which I think is very hard. If you do any kind of research in dental technology and or have your ear to the ground the way most of us do, you've heard of both Videa Health, but also Florian, who, by the way, have done research on him, is a fascinating person. So I'm very excited to have you on and get a little bit of your background and the reasoning why you're doing what you're doing. Um, the idea for us today is to explore AI as a general concept, as it is taking our society by storm, and also kind of dive into a little bit of the meaning behind the day-to-day patient experience of how patient experience will change, not just with Videa health technology, but also with AI in general. Um, so with that said, I have like a series of questions, but feel free to take this where this goes because you are clearly the subject matter expert. Um, so Florian, you were on track to become a physician, a doctor in Germany. Then you pivoted to into AI entrepreneurship. What was your aha moment that led you to found Videa Health?
Wow. I think I had two big aha moments if I look back at my life.
Yeah.
You're right. I was a medical student for many years, and was training to become a neurosurgeon. And I think I had from that track, to this track, I think I had like two big moments. The first one was that I did an internship over over a decade ago at this point, in Silicon Valley, at Berkeley, at a startup called EchoHealth, which was a stethoscope that used AI to identify heart diseases and predict cardiac arrests. And that was one of the first companies in AI with FDA clearance, and we didn't even call it AI at this point.
Uh-huh.
So I was in 2012,
Okay.
and I loved it. And that was for me like the ChatGPT moment. I did realize that, wow, this technology will change everything. And
Yeah.
in particular in healthcare,
Yeah.
because healthcare AI enables you to do something in healthcare on an individual patient level at scale, which never
Right.
before was possible. So that was my first moment towards I need to leave becoming a doctor and I need to do something in healthcare with AI because I believe I can have a bigger impact in my life doing that.
Right.
So that was the first moment. And then the second moment, honestly, was when I did a lot of research at MIT and Harvard. I did a lot of research across different AI sectors. So I was doing research in AI and mammography, right? Or
Okay.
chest x-rays, mammography, breast cancer, chest
Yeah.
x-rays, pneumothorax, etc. And I realized that actually dentistry is honestly the best healthcare market in my mind to use AI for the better of the patient. It's a win-win situation
Yeah.
because the patients want to get a treatment earlier rather than later. The dentist wants to convert the treatment and do it now, but they don't really care about how much time they spent on doing radiographs. And so it's a better win-win. And so that's where I pivoted from radiology and general healthcare towards dentistry, did a bunch of research, wrote a research paper in that, and absolutely fell in love with dentistry because I think it's the best win-win. And dentists have so much on their shoulders. They are a diagnostician, a surgeon, a primary
Yeah.
care physician, and a business person at the same time. So if we can support them in some of those jobs, I think that's very valuable.
Yeah. This to me is so fascinating, because you clearly went down the physician road, which is a long, very, very specific education, and then realized halfway through that there is something that actually is like more exciting for you to do for the rest of your life. So with that, like you're a health tech care founder and you're I'm going to call it like a almost finished like a trained physician.
Yeah,
You have clinical background, right? Like so that's
yeah,
a very unique bridge because
yeah,
usually you have either or, right? Like you have
that's
like
right.
dentist or businessman or either or. Like I have a background in finance. I run a healthcare a software company, right? Like I'm not a coder, right? Like so I heavily rely on that, but you bridge that gap. So with that dual lens,
That's, by the way, Ralph, like in a very positive way. I am also joking. I'm decent at a lot of things and not great at anything. So,
Well,
exactly. But
you're
yeah.
succeeding, so you're doing a lot of things right. But what I said is like, well, I guess so. There's multiple questions, and like, but like that dual lens that you had, like, how did that help you shape your early product ideas around Videa Health? Like, what was the main driver there for Videa Health and your background?
Yeah, I mean, like, quite honestly, that's mainly personal, so to say. But that's what matters as an entrepreneur, right? It's like your baby.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, look, I was in medical school because I wanted to help people.
yeah,
I dropped out of medical school because I wanted to do something in technology, and then I was also at some point for a short while a consultant at McKinsey, and I loved thinking about business processes and how
yeah,
to
yeah,
improve that. And I think that accumulation of technology, business, and medical led me to Video Health. Now, why I like video health so much and dentistry is because, I want to have the biggest positive impact onto the world with the
yeah,
life I have. And I think in dentistry, we know from our FDA studies, etc., that every patient which receives a treatment together with video AI will get, or every second patient gets actually a cheaper, earlier treatment than
yeah,
not. So we have a measurable impact and a significant impact. So instead of a root canal, you have a crown. Instead of a
right,
crown, you have a filling. So we have a measurable impact on patients. And then what excites me is that everyone goes to the dentist. So at this point, we already process over 50 million patients per year. And
yeah,
our vision is to be the first AI company in the world to diagnose 1 billion people globally,
yeah,
which means we would help positively impact 500 million patients, right? Half of
yeah.
them in a positive way. And so what I love about this is that we can have a direct measurable impact on a lot of people. And that's what excites me so much about it. And that's why I founded Videa Health. Essentially, it's in the name, by the way. Videa means to improve,
Mhm.
and to see from video, and videre, so to improve health. So that's where the name comes about,
Yeah,
because everyone
yeah.
asks me why
I,
I
I,
took such a complicated name.
I did my research on that, and actually, so you also already answered that question, which is fantastic. Which
Yeah.
I loved the play on the name, which is fantastic. Look, I think what you're alluding to here is that you saw a pain point within a very complex healthcare setup, and you figured out a way to solve the problem. Is that a
Yeah.
fair way to make a statement?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those disruptive technologies which you're seeing others,
Yeah,
where if you would ask dentists the pain point,
yeah,
they would have just said, "Oh, patients don't understand the treatment, or patients don't accept the treatment, or
yeah,
whatnot." But no one would have thought about AI as a solution. So that's what I mean with disruptive.
right,
It's like this classic thing of like,
yeah,
if you would have asked people for like what they want with their horseback riding, they would say, oh, faster horses, but actually it's a car. And so I think that exactly is happening right now. No one thought about AI being a solution to the problem, but it's actually the solution to low case acceptance,
yeah,
to a lot of manual and tedious works in dental industry, to the staffing shortage because it's hard to hire and retain
right.
talent. Like, it actually is a solution to that, but you had to map that and you had to figure that out early on, right?
Yeah, which I think is the exciting part, right? Like for especially for a researcher and a scientist like you, where you go like, look, there's a potential to solve for this really, really big problem, and you love working on that. And you just turn it into a business, which is fantastic. Now, moving on to like more like the larger AI in society, right, part, because I think so for everybody to understand, leading up to this podcast, Florian and I and his team and I had leading up conversations, and in large part it kind of focused on what else is happening in the world that is now influenced by AI. And
Yeah.
Florian said to me, he's like, no, 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 you're looking at this the wrong angle, right? Like, we know everything will be influenced by AI, and it's a matter of how we apply it, right? And to me, that was like not mind bending per se, but I'm like, oh, my perception has to change as a business leader of saying, oh, I got it. So along those lines, like so many industries have now adopted AI relatively quickly, I would say, but in healthcare, it often lags behind a little bit. So what cultural or structural factors do you think you'll see, and how do you see that evolving
Yeah.
in healthcare?
Yeah. Well, on a general thing, and obviously I'm like pretty. I've been now for 10 years in AI, and so I also
Yeah,
outside of healthcare, I'm spending a lot of time on generative AIs or AI agents and where those developments are going.
yeah,
And I think you're right. I think the adoption of AI and the development of AI is unprecedented and incredible. And I do believe that actually, even in healthcare and dentistry in particular, the adoption is right now the fastest as I have been. So
right.
let me explain that a little bit. I don't know if you've ever seen the what is it called? The hype curve, Gardner's
Oh,
hype cycle,
yes, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And of adoption, right? And then you have
Yeah,
like you have a hype cycle where you think the technology, let it be electronic vehicles, autonomous driving, or AI in dentistry,
yeah,
solves everything. Then is a froth of disillusionment where nothing works, and then it goes into the plateau of productivity.
yeah.
Now it took AI and breast cancer, I would say, over 10 years to go through all of it. So the New
Okay.
York Times, I think it was in the early 2000s, published something that there wouldn't be radiologists anymore by 2020. That was like the hype cycle, and then nothing
Right.
happened, and now radiologists at the highest salary still forever. So
Right.
so it took us over 10 years to go now to the adoption curve, but actually it's now used. I
Yeah.
think in dentistry, what happened is the AI we are using, right? So diagnostic AI, X-ray AI, in order to support clinicians for treatment planning. That took us 3 years now to go from hype to adoption, and now it's widely adopted. And I
Yeah.
think what's happening, Ralph, is that every future AI, even in dentistry, will only take a year of adoption. And I do believe that we see
Oh,
organizations. Heartland Dental is one of our customers, the largest DSO in the country. We've been working with them for years now. They are very, very progressive on that technology. They try out everything we are building. And I think that providers, also single dentists or DSOs who are leaning into this, will have a huge
yeah.
competitive edge.
Yeah. So how, to me, that's fascinating because clearly I'm going to call it, you're pushing behind the scenes for a better consumer experience, right? Like a better
Mm-hmm.
patient
Mm-hmm.
experience. But so,
Mm-hmm.
so with that shift, does
Mm-hmm.
the patient expectation change in dental care? Like, how
Oh,
does,
mm-hmm.
so, because to me, like it
I
has to,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like we are seeing this. I think like I think two things. On the one side, I think the workforce expectations change. So, for instance,
Okay.
VideaHealth, our AI platform, starts now to become the major recruitment tool of our DSO partners and of our dentists. I'm not
Okay.
even kidding you. Like in interview processes, if
Sure.
Smile Brands or whatnot tries to recruit students, they're
Right.
showing like, hey, we use VideaAI, and that's why you have an easier task. So what I'm saying is, graduates of dental schools or hygienists, they
Right.
actually start to expect the employer to use AI tools. That's
Right.
the
So
one
you're
side.
bragging with technology.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a
And
good thing, right? Like it's a bragging in a
yeah,
good way. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you brag with technology or you support them with technology, right? Like it's the same
Right.
thing that if you, as a software developer, you go to a company, you want to get a new laptop with a lot of computing power, for instance, right?
Right.
Like it's the same. You want to make sure that they are technology forward.
Right.
And then on the other side, the patients, that is adopting incredibly fast because everyone has access to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Everyone understands that it actually enables you rather than, you know, stifles you. And so consumers have lost the fear of AI and they really want to lean into it. And so what's happening is that we get almost for every dentist we have reaching out to our website on video.ai for purchasing our product, we have
Yeah.
probably the same amount or even more of patients reaching out to us as well. Just random people,
Because
essentially
they find you.
consumers, yeah,
Right.
who say like, can my dentist use that technology?
Yeah. So I mean, look, I love this. Obviously, I love it for you. I love it for the industry. But because I mean, which means that the consumer, the customer becomes aware of it. So clearly, we're living in this, like I'm going to call it like an explosive time for AI, right? Like so around that, like okay, so in my business in
Yep.
software, right? Like we're obviously adopting AI and or using it already deeply in many ways to help our customers. What, what would you get when you have so much hype? Is how do you differentiate signal from noise, right? Like where it was like what's real and what's just brouhaha. Like, how do you focus on the right path?
Yeah. And you mean the
You as
right
a
path in terms of
look,
like
like
on the
look,
one
like so my
side,
thing is
like
this.
hype, and on the other side, making it actually productive?
Yeah, look. Let's talk business. Let's step back for a second and talk business.
Yeah.
Business. I run a software business. You
Yeah.
run a healthcare business, software business as well, technically.
Yeah.
So when we go to market, we want funding this, that, and the other, right? Like, well, obviously you talk about AI because that's your product, but we talk about AI now, even though our
Yeah.
solution is an HR solution, which is a digital software solution, highly sophisticated. But guess what? If we would not put the word AI into our conversation, people are like, well, you are so yesterday, right? So that's in my mind a lot of noise. What
Yeah.
is what is what is directionally real is well, we have a chatbot that is AI
Yeah.
supported and or AI
Yeah.
driven and giving very sophisticated answers. We have software solutions that are
Yeah.
helping our customers
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
AI driven support. That's what I mean,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's noise versus true
Yeah.
guidance. So
Yeah.
how do you make the differentiation here?
Yeah. I think that's super fair. I think it's back to the basics, but they're really hard. And
Yeah.
that is like leading with the actual problems and the actual pain
Okay.
points. And I think we are all tempted right now to talk about AI agents and
Right.
ChatGPT and that. But I think we have to put this past. We have to understand our users and our customers, the dentist on the ground, or sometimes also the VP of operations of a DSO. What are
Right.
the actual problems? And the problems is
Amen.
not their problems is not that they don't have AI to treatment plan. That's not
Right.
their problem. The
No.
problem of a clinical director is that he has 100 locations with over 600 hygienists and 200 dentists, so 800 clinicians who are all over the place in terms of like how they've been clinically trained.
Right.
And he needs to coach them in a scalable way where you can learn more and less. That is the problem, and that's what we should lean with. So
Right.
now AI is a solution to that, one of many, right? But
Yeah.
I think we need to follow the problem. The problem of AI agents is not a
Yeah.
problem. The problem is that in dentistry, you do a lot of tedious manual tasks, like
Yeah.
claim submission, for instance, right? It's very tedious, very manual, and you do a lot of errors. That's the problem. And so you
Right.
need to focus on the problems and how to solve them rather than the technology. Even though that's a little bit hard in nowadays time because we have
Yeah.
so many buzzwords flying around. But I think that's where you also, as a customer, you just need to focus on it. Like, not does he have the greatest AI agents, but does that person solve my problem?
Right. Yeah. Look, to me, like, all those things ring true, right? Like, and the first thoughts I had when you were answering is like, look, so I have gray hair, so I've been in business a little longer than you have, but like, I was part of the introduction of email into business, right? The introduction of internet into business, and I know, for example, in dental practices, at the time when these things first came out, a lot of doctors were looking at the internet, for example, as a tool to waste time and not be productive, right? And so the adoption rate was slowed by a perception that was, I'm going to call, misguided, right? Like, because the full embrace of the potential was not there. So for me to say is like, and I coach my team and or I talk with Ali, our CEO, about this, saying, look, yes, this is an amazing new tool and potential for us, but it's the same thing as what we have done 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it will be absolutely impactful, and we need to embrace it, but it is also not something to fear, or put your head in the sand, because it actually will help you. And I think that what you said of saying, solving problems, follow the problems and solve those one step at a time, is the right attitude to have. So
That's
now,
right.
the question I have, of you said something earlier about the interaction with a customer on that expectation.
Yeah.
So with patients having their personal AI health records that are integrated with like dental AI tools like video, how far away is like that kind of interoperability, like of having your personal information available, like for it? Like, is this something like, how does that, what's the dimension of that in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, like we are fortunate that this industry has changed in the last couple of years quite substantially. 10 years ago, like every practice management system was on premise, so kind of on the
Right.
location. and didn't had a lot of APIs, what we call it, so to retrieve or write back information. I think at this point, a lot is moving to the cloud, and the practice management vendors have been much more open with their APIs in order to deliver better products to the customers. And so we, for instance, have a very strong and great partnership with Henry Schein One and Dentrix and Ascend, where we are directly in their platforms, as well as we can read all the information and we can also write back some information. And so that's the same with many other practice management systems. And so actually the capability, I think we were in a much darker spot there 10 years ago, but I think everyone realized, and that happened with Epic and healthcare as well, by the way, everyone realized, no, you need to go to an open infrastructure in order to do the best by the customer, which is the dentist. And I think we are like pretty ahead there. So for instance, with Dentrix, we have we really have like amazing integrations where you can even have access to VideaAI directly in Dentrix, and you don't even need to go to a different platform.
Which
so
I think is the future, right? It's like the fully integrated, like the fully integrated system.
Yeah, that's right. And also like automation wherever you can automate, to be honest. I think like that's what we need to work on more. Dentistry has a lot of tedious and error-prone tasks. Personally, by the way, when I dropped out of med school, the one thing, it was a very hard decision, but the one decision which made it easy is that 60% of a doctor's work is probably still administrative work, writing doctor letters and all of that.
Right.
And so automating all of that, that's the same for dentistry, I think will be phenomenal.
Yeah. How interesting. So that's an interesting. So sorry, I wanted to bring in another dimension of what people may not know.
Sorry, I don't mean to throw curveballs here, but
No. This is perfect. Like so one of the things that we discussed is like in your path of where you are today is you taught at Harvard and MIT or went to MIT. Explain this real quick. Like what you taught at
I went to MIT and Harvard, and I teach there now. Yes,
you teach there now. Okay, so you also hold patents and like, okay, so I'm talking to a genius, everybody. So like take credit. It's
just someone who likes work too much.
Well, it is definitely leading you down the path of helping customers, helping patients, and that is a worthwhile pursuit. But no, the reason why I'm actually bringing this up is I'm curious. Like, so clearly you utilize teaching, science, research as a fuel for your personality, right? To drive both your business success, but also you personally. So my question to you in this one is like, where, like, okay, what I'm trying to get to is like when you talk to students, right? Like I am like a child on Christmas talking about AI because I can see the business applications potential, but I don't really understand it, and I freely, openly admit it. Now, you go to Harvard, MIT, any school, and you have a teacher like you who did this major shift from from becoming a doctor to becoming a teacher. Like, do you find that is a source of energy and or learning from you, or are you just teaching? Like you know what I mean? It's like
I know totally what I mean. I think everything you do, including this interview, including talking with customers, talking with patients, with users, is always a two-way street.
Right.
Everything. I think that's just a life principle.
Yes,
I'm quite honestly, I'm just also super curious, and I'm trying to be mindful of your time. Otherwise, I would reverse and ask a lot of questions. What does a fellow German run an HR health company? You know what I mean? So, no, I think everything is a two-way street, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating. So at HBS, Harvard Business School, we have a case study on VideaHealth, and so I'm teaching from time to time their MBA students, and it is super. On the one side, I really do enjoy teaching them about AI and giving them a framework, because I think everyone, and quite honestly, your listeners and everyone in dentistry, I think we need like a little bit more frameworks how to think about it, because otherwise it's a lot of noise, right? So I love to send that, but I also love to get the feedback if that's relatable or if I need to adapt it or how they think about it. And the development is so quick that I'm probably learning as much as I'm teaching in the same time. Does that make sense? Like literally have now people exactly people raising their hand and say, hey, it seems like this is like over, like the confusion matrix of false positive, false negatives has been changed and there are different benchmark data. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So it's really changing quickly. And so I enjoy that a lot, but it's a two-way street, and it's pretty fascinating. Also, funny enough, like I think about myself as a relatively young guy. But man, the new generation is like yeah, it's like so ahead, right? Like I write my, yeah, it's like this, they have a different perspective. They have a different also perspective of how user interfaces work and how things do. So for instance, Ralph, I believe in the not too distant future, we will not go on Amazon anymore to order our favorite shoes based on ratings, but instead we just chat with ChatGPT and say, buy that for me. Right. And
Right.
so the interface and how we interact with technology is so different. And I think the younger generations are quite ahead always on that regard.
Yeah, I I totally agree, and I can't wait for that to happen because
Yeah,
that is
me too.
such a pain. Like I totally like for those of you who haven't figured it out, both Florian and I are of German descent, and have come to the US to live the American dream. Um, okay, so I do have to ask one funny question about us being German, right? Like because I don't know about you, but I'm married to an American, and so as two Germans
Yeah,
abroad,
my
like,
partner's American as well, so I worked through
so
all of that.
so
Yeah.
you can appreciate this too. It's like, okay, so be
Yes.
honest, right? Like, so what do you miss more? Like real German bread, or the
Yeah.
unfiltered German directness in a business meeting?
And it's so funny, like these fun questions are often so easy to answer. This
Yeah.
one, a really good one, because
Yeah.
like
Okay, good.
both of this both of this is like is high up on the list, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard. But yeah, look, I mean, I adapted. I've been here over a decade and all of that,
Yeah.
but it is interesting. Like I am a person. I like directness in terms of like I like to know where I am and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that a lot. But I would also never say no to bread with butter. So it's like funny, but I do like both. But this is the beautiful thing of running a company, right? Like I think we have like a weird German American mix of a company culture.
Yeah,
So yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
So for those who have never been to Germany, um, I can guarantee you your life will change when you have a soft pretzel with like a freshly baked soft pretzel with
yeah. I
butter,
agree. I agree.
and or a fresh loaf of bread. Like for whatever reason, like I know people know us for the beer and the sausage, but the bread is what really makes it in my mind. But I have been reminded many a times in business meetings that my directness and firmness on getting to the problem quickly is sometimes looked upon as a little pushy. So
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
guilty of
yeah, yeah.
both.
It's like it's funny. I have a guide like how to work with me, and it's just like, like anyways, the American spectrum is from awesome to good, is the
Yes.
same than in Germany from good to bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so. Anyways, so it's like
Yes. Very
just
true.
like you have to just align the spectrum, and then we're all good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very true. So the clearly, I hope that our listeners um are understanding the excitement that you and I have for this topic. And I
yeah,
kind of want to bring it back to why we're doing this in the first place and why Florian has spent time with me today. Is it's like the Dental Leadership Summit is in its 10th year, very much always looking for new things that are worth sharing and explaining, right? Like so my thing is the reason why I founded this thing 10 years ago is like to provide education to people who are curious, because me personally, I'm curious, right? So that is very important to me. Having met you and your team has been so refreshing and wonderful, because it's one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is what I want to talk about. And
right,
I'm look, there are lots of competition or competitors in this marketplace, and I welcome them all. That's not the point. The point is that we're here to educate, to understand, because a vacuum of not knowing leads to making up stuff that's not true. So I'd rather fill it with true and honest and good information to make sure that we all learn. Florian will be at our event. Here's a little bit of housekeeping for us. We are in Salt Lake City. The Dental Leadership Summit is October 23 through 25. We're at the Grand America Hotel. Florian will be on stage talking about this. There's hopefully going to be a Q&A afterwards. We're trying to figure out how to maximize the AI component. That is not just product, right? Like it is what is important to me is for our audience to take away the potential that is AI in our industry, and I think you embody that very well. So I'm very very excited about that component. Any final thoughts? Any final words on that?
No, I'm first of all, thank you for being here today with me. I'm super excited about the summit, so I
Yeah,
hope many will attend. And then number two is I think, look, we live in incredibly exciting times overall.
agreed.
I do believe that there's a future where dentists, hygienists, front office staff can really focus much more on patient care instead of being in the
Amen.
back office and doing tedious manual tasks. And I think we all would love that, right? And so
Absolutely.
super excited about it and excited for what's to come for this industry.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Thanks
having
for
me.
being here today.
Awesome.